tell me a little bit about your business.
Well, actually, what this timing is perfect because the most exciting piece of news for me, I think, is this January 1 was officially 10 years for me in business here in Warsaw with Hummel Insurance. Yeah, so it's been quite a ride over the last 10 years. We are an independent insurance agency. I've got 2 locations, the one here in Warsaw, which Sam manages for me, and then I have another office up in Newport that I opened in November of 2019.
So you started here then?
Yes. Yep.
So what brought you or what attracted you to start business in Warsaw or in Gallatin County?
So I always say that I didn't find this location found me.
Yeah.
There's a long backstory behind it. But I worked with a woman named Tracy when I was working as a staff member at State Farm Insurance. She was my manager there. She left and went to work for a Hummel Insurance office in Vevey, Indiana. And then just through chatter, through clients, through gossip, she found out that the people who used to own the agency here in Warsaw were considering selling the location. So I was still working for State Farm at the time, but she approached me because she thought it might be a good fit for me to take over the Warsaw office. And so here we are.
And it was a good fit. Tracy was right.
Somehow we've made it this far.
She was right and stuff like that. And you've been there for how long?
6 years, just over 6 years.
So you guys have a lot of experience. And
I'm glad he asked you that question because on the way down here, I was thinking to myself, now when did Sam start? In case this question comes up, when did Sam start? And I was between 2016 and 2017. I couldn't exactly pinpoint it. So.
If I ever ask, you just look.
Right.
Give her a nudge.
Could you stare at her?
Let you answer that.
Could you stare at her and stuff like that?
Yeah,
so.
6 years, and I love it.
What do you love about it?
It's a new day every day. You never have the same day twice. Everybody's situations are different. Everybody's rates are different. Claims are different. Everything, it's just new. And you learn something new every day. So
explain a little bit about what you do then. You're the face, I would say, right, of the Warsaw operation.
Yeah.
And what's that like?
I love it. I like the whole, I'm not from here. I'm from Kenton County. And so it's totally a different world up there versus down here. But, people down here that we have insured are, not all of them, but a lot of them are local people that we know personally. So, and knowing them personally and knowing their families and knowing their businesses, you get to see what you get to help protect. And I love that. I love knowing them all personally.
So what made you decide, or where did you feel like it was right to have a second location? Because that seems like a lot of work and a lot going on. So
it was.
So like at what point you're like, okay, I'm killing it here. This is good. This is good.
I'm not originally from Gallatin County either. I was born and raised and grew up in Campbell County, in Cold Spring, Kentucky. And I just really missed it. My family was all up there. I had a niece growing up, and, I got up there as often as I could, but I really I missed home, and I felt like I was kind of missing out on some things in the family aspect. So I just, once the office got to the point where it was self-sufficient and actually doing well enough to support, the overhead with opening a second location, I jumped on the opportunity.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
So explain to me, because I'm pretty ignorant about this. What is the insurance business like? What do you insure? How's that process and the different stuff you all are involved with? How does that work?
Sure. So in our business model, we're an independent agency, which means that we can have contracts with as many different insurance carriers as will allow us.
Okay.
So the alternative, the flip side of that is somebody like a captive agent, like a State Farm. If you're a State Farm agent, you can only write through State Farm. Right. But with us being independent, we can write through, your Progressive, Safeco, Auto Owners, Great. I mean, we've got like 30 plus insurance companies that we can write through. And the benefit to that is that each individual insurance company has kind of like their own niche market that they're looking for. Like some companies will only write personal loans, so that would be like your auto, your home, your renter's insurance. Some companies only want to write commercial lines, so that'd be any kind of business insurance. And then some will do a little bit of everything, but we have a portfolio of different insurance companies, so we really have the ability to write any piece of business that comes across.
And they're like, some do higher risk, someone who may have had a little bit more of a claim history versus someone else. So it really opens, we have a broad range of options for people, whether what their history is or not.
So someone's not limited. They can come and talk to you, and you can. And so, what is that process like for deciding I guess, partner, for lack of a better term, with an insurance company? Like, what makes them a good fit for you?
So we look obviously for financial strength first and foremost, because if we were writing a piece of business with an insurance carrier, we want to make sure that they have the financial stability to back the claim. We also customer service is a big one for me.
It's huge.
Not only to the clients, but customer service to us as the agents. We want to be able to have a good working relationship with the companies that we write through, and I think if you look at the cut of our business or with which insurance carriers, it's evident which ones have the best, not only customer service, but service to the agencies as well. And ease of doing business.
Okay.
If we've got somebody who I would say is a little bit harder to place business with, maybe the process is longer, the process is more difficult, I would kind of shy away from that. It just takes up time, and it's not always necessary to have to do it that way.
So if it's difficult for you to deal with them, it's not going to get any easier.
Right.
You're like, listen, you can't make the first cut.
It's kind of like a vetting process.
Yeah.
we know ahead of time. Sometimes though it is still going to be a necessity, because if somebody might bring us a piece of business that nobody else wants to write, this insurance company will do it. But here are the all the different forms and applications you got to fill out. So.
But we like being able to respond quickly to our customers and get them answered. Even if we don't have the answers, we have these companies who are fantastic. I love all of our companies that make it easy. And so we're not waiting to get these people their answer. They're pretty quick with us, and they get back with us. They let us know what they can do, what they can't do, so we can get back with the customer in a reasonable amount of time. So they make it really easy for us to work with them. So.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
It's taking on a lot. What I guess what changes do you all see happening in the insurance industry in the next 5-10 years from where we are now to?
I really hope that the rates and the inflation come back down. I've been in business for 10 years, but even before that, I worked as a State Farm agent, team member for 3 years. This over the past probably year and a half, 2 years, it's just been the quickest and highest rate of inflation that I have seen. And to understand, the reason behind that, you have to kind of understand what your insurance policy does, right? So you come into my office and you want a quote for car insurance, and I sit down and I start a policy for you. Well, that insurance policy, it's a contract. So between that insurance company and you. So if you pull out of the parking lot after only having made 1 month's premium and you get into an accident, well, it's going to pay to replace your car. It's going to pay to replace any property that you might have damaged as a result of the accident. And it's going to pay medical bills if if someone was injured in the accident. So everything right now, for the cost of everything, vehicle prices for material, prices for labor, everything is just through the roof right now. So the insurance companies have to
pass it on.
Account for that by unfortunately raising premiums a little bit. Same with the homeowners market. We used to be able to build a home, the same home that you could build 2 years ago, or even before that, for $300,000 or $400,000 is now pushing $500,000, maybe $600,000. So, and again, what's happening with that is we may have insured a home to replacement cost 5 years ago, and that cost estimator came up with $350,000. Yep. Well, right now, to replace a home of that size, you can't even touch it for that amount of money.
Right.
So
you're reacting to everything. It's not. The business has to react to those prices and those increases.
Exactly, and it's not even just the premiums that are going up; it's your coverage limits that are going up too, like on your homeowners policy. So I think a lot of times people get their renewals in the mail. All they look at is just that bottom dollar, that premium number. But if you look, turn the page, you'll see, where last year your home was maybe insured for $200,000, and this year it's coming in at $265,000, and that's because we want to be able to rebuild your house.
Back to the way it was.
Back to the way it was if something happens, and those coverage limits that were years ago are just not working right now.
Are you all getting a lot of calls in by people opening their insurance bills and wait a minute, what is this?
Yeah, it's the majority right now, and we have conversations on a daily basis like this. Like, I get it. I don't like paying
We're our
insurance.
own customers also.
Right.
right.
Yeah.
I'm paying more for insurance either, but you used to be able to replace your brand new car for $20,000, $25,000 and now it's a $35,000 car. And those it has to come from somewhere. So
It's so funny. I just did this mentally. I didn't call anyone, but I looked at my premiums and went up, and I'm like, what is? And I don't even know why it didn't dawn on me to put one thing together.
Right.
Like I didn't connect the dots, and it wasn't. I mean, thankfully, it wasn't anything major, but
yeah, we should have Sam look at that anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Give me a call. No,
I like the hustle.
I think the thing is, sometimes we'll have people who maybe get upset, because they see that number and they're like, hey, I haven't had a claim in 5 years. I'm paying all this money, And I understand that. I do as a customer myself. But then I've also had customers who have had a policy I've written who 3-4 months down the road have only paid 3 or 4 months premium and had a total loss, where the insurance paid out $40,000 for their new vehicle. And, so it's great that you don't have to use it. And I understand, you're paying for something you may not need to use. But when you need to use it, I mean, you need it.
Right.
So, yeah.
That's a good point. When you need it,
you do.
It's already too late. Yeah.
And you want to
It's a
make sure that policy's backed by a company that's financially strong.
Right.
And you want to make dang sure you can get a hold of your agent when that happens
Right.
too.
Right.
Which is what's nice about having,
I mean, and when you think of what you pay in a year in an auto or home and the cost the other way, the number of years I've paid and nothing's gone wrong still wouldn't make up for the cost of one.
You better knock on wood right now.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's true.
yes, knock on wood.
Remember that time Shawn just jinxed himself by talking trash? But no, I mean just the amount, that goes into that and stuff like that. So I kind of understand that.
Yeah, and you really don't think about it. I mean, I didn't think about that until I worked in insurance, and working in it, you think about things so differently now, because you see people have total losses. And, when people call us, we're usually one of the first people that they talk to on one of the worst days of their life.
Right.
And then, when everything's falling apart, it's like, oh, thank God. Thank God they have this coverage in place. And, thank God we didn't, we covered them properly.
Right. Taking the time to do it right is another big thing. When we're quoting these policies, there's so much information that we have to gather because we need to make sure that we are thoroughly understanding what it is that we're insuring.
Right.
Because we could fudge some numbers probably when it comes to the square footage and the year built, the year your house is built and how old your roof is, to save you a couple bucks. But if we do that and it's not insured correctly, and then your claim is either your coverage is not sufficient or the claim gets denied because of it, who cares if we saved you $200 if when claim time comes, you're on your own. So that's why I think, and one thing I do love about Sam, she is so thorough. Like she even sometimes makes.
I'm an overthinker, and so I have to.
It's a good industry to be an overthinker in, though.
Yes, she dots every I and crosses every T, and I'm just so appreciative for that. Taking the time up front to make sure we're doing everything right, rather than having to scrape and scramble on the back end.
I thought it was interesting, and I heard that in a case study about during the middle of COVID when we all had those refunds back or reductions, and that's because someone in the mid-90s sat and did a study of what would happen if a pandemic hit the United States and how insurance companies would react, which I just think is very interesting. That's what they're doing, like the think tanks and the level of thinking.
It's a little wild.
Yeah, exactly. That strategic foresight on something like that, I think, is really kind of interesting as far as the business where you maybe wouldn't think of it as the most. I don't mean interesting as a drag. I mean negative, but I mean just like how much thought and how much needs to go into all of this, and that you're able to provide and that you're able to be the face of instead of on a computer or a phone call that they know who you are.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, thankfully, the insurance companies that back us think of all those things, and we just get to meet with the client.
Yeah.
But I mean, teams and departments and groups of people just looking out for all that kind of thing, which is really, really nice.
Yeah.
So have you? Do you get a chance to be back here? I don't mean to make it sound like 500 miles away, but I mean just between the two locations and
not often.
Okay.
So originally the goal was that I was going to open the other location and then just kind of float back and forth between the two. But staffing has become an issue. Just trying to hire and train and get somebody to the point where they're self-sufficient enough for me to step out, if I could even find somebody in the first place. It's just it almost at this point it's worth it to me just to run it by myself for now, and I've got Sam.
I was going to say, what I'm hearing is that just Gallatin County's on lock. It's just you're doing such a great job, and everyone in that office.
She doesn't need me breathing down her neck. She knows what to do. So.
You've done such a great job. That's what I mean. That's the next level.
I'm grateful she trusts me with that office, because it's nice to know that she's not like, breathing down my neck, like, what are you doing? What do you, I feel like we have a really good relationship.
What is that training process like then? I mean, because it sounds like you'd have to know a lot.
Ruling.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ins and outs, and I imagine every single insurance company you deal with is probably different or completely different than each other.
Different little caveats, different underwriting requirements, and you really have to start from the ground up too with somebody who's new to the industry. Like, I even have to show you how we have our agency management system, which is where our database of clients, and then from there, each individual insurance company, they download the policies and everything into that. We've got accounting systems, we've got billing systems, so it's a lot. It really is a lot. And then on top of all of that, learning insurance law for the states of Kentucky, Ohio, and Indiana. I mean, it really is. It takes quite some time for somebody who's new to the industry to become comfortable and even self-sufficient at all. So. And
you don't want to just throw everything on somebody all at once. I mean, you really have to. It is a timely process.
You have to just break it off in little chunks. Yeah. Pretty much. Start by teaching people how the billing system, and then they can kind of take over handling and processing payments, and then start teaching them claims processes. Just little piece of the pie at a time.
Well, it's a lot of responsibility and obligation immediately too, right? So
it's huge.
Yes. Yeah. So it's not for everybody.
No, it's not for everybody. But when I meet with a customer and they come and they're sitting across the desk from me, they're trusting me to do my job well enough to where if tragedy strikes, they know that I have done my job and my part in making sure that everything that they've worked so hard for is protected. And we do not take that lightly.
And we don't take advantage of that, because there's so many people that don't know about insurance or don't understand it. They know they have to have it, and they know they need it, but they don't understand a lot of it. And it is a lot to understand. And so, with state minimum limits, we don't, right, state minimum limits, unless somebody's like adamant about having it, but we definitely don't do it without a conversation. Like, here's why we don't want to do that. We want to give you the best protection possible. We've personally seen things happen where someone didn't carry enough limits and they were sued, and we don't want that for any of our customers. We want to make sure we do a good job at that.
And explain that to like someone like me sitting across, like, okay, now this is cost this, but this is what it gets you, and this is why. Right. Because I could see where you could nickel and dime yourself and really get yourself in trouble.
Yeah. Well, even with the minimum required limits in the state of Kentucky, they're not. If you cause an auto accident and that person ends up, injured and needs ongoing treatment, that $25,000 bodily injury limit is not going to take them very far. And what happens is, if you have assets, you're going to get sued personally. So if you don't carry enough liability insurance for your vehicle, you have a claim where you're at fault, your limits are exhausted. The next thing they do is they come after they put a lien on your house. They could put your future wages could be at stake. So if it's $15 more a month to get, $100, $300 instead of $25.50. To me, it's a no-brainer.
Right.
But these are the conversations we have to have, because a lot of people really, truly don't understand what they're buying when they buy an insurance policy. So we like to educate people, too.
Well, I was just saying, you're seeing it all the time. Whereas, like, you might think about it once every 6 months for a second, and then that's your last thought, and you're like, well, I'm doing this every day between those 6 months and stuff like that.
And we're seeing the trends, too. People who are being sued, like what seems like a fender bender, a very minimal little accident. Next thing you know, they get an attorney, and that attorney's suing for pain and suffering. And I mean, just the things that we see come from what should be a little minor accident, could end up being detrimental to somebody if they're not insured properly.
And plus, like you were saying, everything's gone up in price too. So on top of that, so what $25,000 was just 2-3 years ago is not the same.
No, not even close.
Same power. Well, thank you so very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Oh, this is fun.
Nice talking with you.
All right.
Nice meeting you.